Hi everyone, it's Victoria. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to just dive right in and talk about my experience postpartum. As I mentioned in my first video, I have a 3-year-old son and a 1-year-old daughter, and becoming a mom has completely changed who I am, mentally, physically, all of it. And I think it's really important to talk about this and basically, I feel like transforming into a totally new person, because for me it was really isolating, a lot of it. It was really lonely. I didn't know how hard of a time I was having. I really didn't know the first time. I thought everything was fine. I thought everything I was feeling was normal. And it really wasn't until this time around that that coupled with the pandemic and everything, it just kind of broke me, really. I don't know any other way to say it. And I feel like I'm finally emerging from that. I'm finally becoming confident in myself. I'm finally seeing the other side of what this new person can be. So I will backtrack a little bit. So I had a totally normal pregnancy. I didn't have any complications, totally healthy. I mean, I had the regular, uncomfortable, especially towards the end. I had heartburn, and that was about it. My first pregnancy was super easy. I'm really, really lucky for that. I went into labor naturally, 6 days early. And, I was ready, no surprises, so 6 days early was totally fine. And I did have my son vaginally. I had to push for almost 2 hours because he was actually sunny side up. And I'll definitely talk about my birth stories in another video, but right now I just want to talk about kind of postpartum. But this is just kind of leading up into it. And from the beginning, obviously it was super, super emotional. I was crying, and I was so happy, once he finally came out and he started crying. And I, of course, was flooded with all these emotions. And really for the next several weeks, I just kept saying, like, wow, I feel so overwhelmed. I feel so overwhelmed with my love for this new human that I created, and I had a hard time handling how overwhelmed I felt. But again, I just thought it was normal. I thought that's how you're supposed to feel. Okay, oh, light bulb, this is how you feel when you have a child. You love them so much, you think about them 24/7, you're totally overwhelmed, you're worried about them, now you're caring for someone new, you're learning how to take care of them, because you actually don't know before you go home how to actually take care of this baby. So that was kind of another element that was pretty wild. Oh my gosh, they let us go home and we have no idea what we're doing. Even though I'd researched so much. I researched every single day of my pregnancy, down to every last detail of every product, everything I wanted to use, everything I wanted to do. And it really, most of it goes out of the window once you actually have your baby and figure out what they need and, what their temperament is and all that. But the main thing was that I felt physically like an outpouring and just overwhelming amount of love. And I really did not know how to deal with that. And I felt it physically, and it was that, and I physically felt anxious all the time. And I was worried, and I had so many intrusive thoughts. Of course, I didn't know at the time they were intrusive thoughts. I thought they were normal. But I had so many intrusive thoughts about, oh my gosh, is my baby okay? I need to watch him on the camera until he falls asleep and well after that. And if I'm at work, is he okay? Is he safe? Is he alive? Just all of these thoughts just swirling around in my brain all the time. Just complete overload. And I knew about postpartum depression, and that was basically where my knowledge ended. So I took the 6-question questionnaire at my OBGYN and also at the pediatrician, I think at the 6-week mark for both, or around that time, and I didn't appear to have postpartum depression. And to me, I was someone who had never been depressed before. I was always bubbly and happy and positive, and I'm only realizing now that that was really just because I was suppressing my feelings, I was suppressing my trauma, and I was just suppressing all of it. And it just came out as bubbly and happy and always okay and always positive, and I didn't really know any other side to myself, because I had never even really opened up to myself because I was too scared. So I didn't think I had postpartum depression because, again, I'm like, well, I'm not depressed. I'm not sad. I'm over the moon. I'm so happy to have this healthy baby. I'm so lucky. And so it just kind of stopped there. Like, you know what? I dodged a bullet. I don't have postpartum depression. Another thing I'm lucky for. And that was really where that train of thought ended. And I just thought, I skated right through that. I mean, I think, I maybe got the baby blues for a few days, and that's really all I thought. And now looking back, I cannot believe how long I suffered. I mean, I did not get help until my son was a year old, and I finally started going to therapy for the first time. And it was just a culmination of really a lot of things, and just this overwhelming feeling of always being scared, always being anxious, never being sure of myself. I mean, I could not do anything without consulting someone else. I couldn't do anything without asking my husband, do you think this is a good idea? Do you think we should be doing this? Do you think we should be using this? Which makes no sense, because I was doing all the research and I was figuring everything out, but yet I was asking someone else because I couldn't trust myself to make those decisions. I couldn't trust myself that I knew what was best for my baby. I just couldn't trust myself. I didn't think I was a good mom. I thought that the only way to be a good mom is to be a perfect mom. But I didn't think I was perfect. So in my eyes, every day I was failing. If I let him cry for a few minutes, I was failing. If I didn't meet a need immediately, I was failing. And I was just failing at every single turn. And there's even one time in particular that I remember. I was filling up the bath, and I was home alone with my baby, and I had made my dinner, but I didn't get a chance to eat it yet because it was time to give him a bath and put him to bed. So I just went to go put my plate away so that my cat wouldn't eat it. So I just went to cover it, and in those 1 minute that I walked, put a cover on, my son had actually gotten himself into the bath. He fell into the bathtub and he started crying, and I could barely live with myself after that. And looking back, it's such a minor thing. He was fine. He was not hurt at all. And I mean, he gets hurt way more now just running and tripping or falling or scraping his knees at the park. But in that moment, it was just like, well, that's confirmation I'm a bad mom. Confirmation right there. I get confirmation every single day how bad of a mom I am. And I couldn't see any good in myself. All I could see was other moms doing a good job, other moms who have it together, other moms who aren't struggling, and then me, who, well, I wanted to be a mom, I planned this, so I should be perfect at it, and why am I not perfect at it? And finally, like I said, after about a year, I finally started going to therapy, and it helped. It definitely, during that time, got me where I needed to be so that I could function a little more, so that I stopped having those intrusive thoughts. Another big mantra at the time for me was how lazy I was. So if I didn't clean everything, I was lazy. If I wasn't setting everything up, I was lazy. If I was tired and I wanted to go to bed early, I was lazy. And that's what I was telling myself over and over and over. And I didn't take anything into account. I didn't take into account that I was a first-time mom, that my husband and I were essentially, watching our baby 24/7, switching off who's at home, who's working. He would be at home while I was working, then I would be at home while he was working. And everything was it was so stressful. And on top of that, breastfeeding did not work out because my son had a tongue tie, which we did identify pretty quickly. And that was just from researching, because while I was breastfeeding, I was crying every single time because it hurt so bad. And I just thought, it's supposed to hurt. That's just normal. And then I realized that he had a tongue tie. So we got that revised, but breastfeeding was still really painful. So I ended up exclusively pumping, and I exclusively pumped for exactly 1 year. So, I had a brand new baby. I was pumping 5-6 times a day, every single day for a year. And I didn't take any of that into account, even though it was so stressful. It was so tiring on my body. But to me, I was just lazy. I didn't have it together. I still wasn't doing enough. And then I was more useful doing chores and taking care of things rather than spending time with my husband and my son, because my worth was coming from how much can I do, how much can I clean, how much can I fill in the blank. That's where it was coming from. It wasn't coming from me as a person, as a mom, how I interact with them, how I spend time with them. And I really did not see that. So then in therapy, I actually started to see, okay, I'm not lazy. Now I know I'm not lazy. How can I reprogram my brain to remember that I'm not lazy? And that took a really, really long time. And every time the thought would pop up and say, oh, you're lazy, I would just tell myself, I'm not lazy. I'm not lazy. I'm not lazy. And then I had to do that every single time, over and over and over and over, until finally I stopped getting those thoughts. I stopped getting the thought that I was lazy. And that was really the biggest gift that I got when I was doing therapy then. And I was so scared to do therapy. We did it virtually because I had no idea when I would even be able to go to therapy. How many hours out of the day, driving there, the session, do I do it when I have to leave work and that kind of thing. So that was just something that was really stressful to me, because it's always been stressful to me one, to take care of myself rather than someone else, and then finding the time and taking time out of the day to do something extra that stresses me a lot. Not so much now because I'm working on it a lot. But so I was lucky enough that we were able to, through insurance, do virtual therapy. And even then, I was so scared to talk to a therapist by myself. So I would have my husband sit in with me, and we actually started doing sessions together and really, really working on our communication skills between the two of us and how we interact with each other. And that really laid the foundation for how we would move forward from there, and how we could have better tools to communicate with each other and really like get through that time period. So that was a really beautiful gift that we got during that time period. And on top of just the postpartum depression, now I know postpartum anxiety, because at the time I didn't even know that existed. I had this thought that I couldn't have more than one kid because I was failing so much at just having one kid that I was incapable of taking care of more than one kid. It's too much work. I'm not fit for it. It's too much. Even though I really did want a second kid. My husband really wanted a second kid. And it was just, I can't do this. I don't think I can do this because I'm not capable. But through therapy was really what gave me I will say at that time, a little bit of confidence to say, hey, I am obviously taking really good care of my son, and I think I can have a second kid. So we decided between the two of us that we would have a second kid. And so that is what gave me the confidence that I am a good mom and I am capable of taking care of two kids. So we decided to have a second one, and that pregnancy was a lot harder. I still had really, really bad heartburn, and then I had no idea how tired I could be pregnant and taking care of a toddler. Had no clue about that. But what really got me was labor. So I had never planned for anything other than a vaginal delivery for both. And again, I'll cover my birth stories in their own videos, but with my daughter, I ended up having an emergency C-section, and I was not prepared for that whatsoever. I mean, as soon as they told me, I burst into tears because I was not expecting that at all. And I am really thankful because it was the best thing that could have happened in the moment. She was able to be born safely with no complications. And so overall, it was 100% the right choice. But in the moment, it was so scary. It was really traumatizing. So during that postpartum time, I first had to deal with that and how traumatized I was, and I would just sit there in pain, barely able to walk. It took me weeks before I could even walk across my house to my son's room. I lived in my room because I couldn't walk anywhere. I could barely stand long enough in the shower, and recovery was really hard. It was a lot harder than I thought it would be. And I would just sit there thinking how scared I was, and just remembering how scared I was, and just, all those thoughts. And I really had to work through those a lot, and I cried a lot about it. I wasn't ever upset that I had a C-section, I just had a hard time processing my feelings about how scared I was and how it just completely was not how I pictured anything. Never, I hadn't even researched anything about C-sections because it wasn't even in the realm of possibilities in my mind, which now obviously I know it always is. It had just never occurred to me. So once I got past that, which I did deal with that, I will say pretty quickly, meaning several weeks, because I talked about it a lot. I talked about it with people close to me. I cried and cried and cried about it. So I did move past that in particular. And then the pandemic hit. So my daughter was born in January. The pandemic really hit in March. And I started working from home. And just as time went on and as, we were isolated and at home and not leaving and trying to figure out how to take care of 2 kids and how to balance that and working full time and again, exclusively pumping for a year again. Breastfeeding, not for me, but I can pump. I know I can pump for a year. And just all of that. And I feel like my hormones in my body this time took so much longer to recover. I feel like it's been such a roller coaster. I mean, I've had intrusive thoughts again. I fell into deep depression for the first time, knowingly, I guess, because I was able to identify it, and that was really scary, because I was so sad and empty, and I knew I didn't want to be, but I couldn't help it, and I stopped enjoying anything, and those intrusive thoughts they kept coming, and that was really when I told my husband that I was getting those again. I mean, I would think that something was happening to my kids if they were in another room and it was quiet for 30 seconds. I would immediately jump to conclusions and be so scared that they weren't safe anymore, even though we were all home, they were being watched, they were being taken care of. But I just kept jumping to that over and over and over. So when I told my husband, he said, you need to go back to therapy. Like, you need to find a therapist today. And so that's what I did. I stopped. I found a therapist. I talked with her at the end of that week, and I started my sessions the very next week. And that was, I think, in December that I started seeing this therapist. And she has given me so many tools to use that, I mean, I'm working on it every single day. There's so much more to postpartum that I really didn't know. Postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, postpartum OCD. I mean, I had no idea all these things even existed because nobody talks about them, and I was suffering from all of them. And I mean, I don't even know, like, I wouldn't even know where to go from there, or I didn't even know what I needed, because I didn't even know what was happening or what was going on in my mind. And it was so scary and isolating. And then once she gave me more information, like, oh, all of these things that you're describing, this is postpartum OCD. Most people don't know about it or talk about it. And then just reading about it and realizing, wow, like, this is me. this is what I'm experiencing, this is what I'm feeling, and I can't help it. And just knowing that it's not just me, and knowing that, you know, it's not permanent, and it is something that happened because I went through a huge change, like I said, mentally and physically, and knowing that I'm on the right path to healing those things, and that I'm on the right path to not suffering every single day. So that really gave me a lot of hope, and like I said, my therapist has given me a lot of tools that I can use in my day-to-day life just to make things easier for myself, to grow my confidence, to make me feel secure in my role in my family, as a mother, as a wife, and just really give me an overall better understanding of myself, and a way to move forward, and a way to improve, and a way to just live a better life and a happier life. And I cannot say how much and how thankful I am that I found therapy, that I found this particular therapist. She has been so incredibly helpful to me. And I don't know where I would be if I didn't get help. And I know that the way I was feeling and the way that I was operating was not sustainable at all. I mean, I basically lived in mom guilt 24/7 for anything and everything. I mean, I wouldn't let myself have a break. If I did have a break, then, I just really saw it as negative, and, I just need to keep going. Lack of sleep, it doesn't matter, and on and on and on. And that's been really something I've been working on lately, is allowing myself to take a break, that it's okay if I leave the house without my kids. It's okay that I'm not with them 24/7, and that I'm still a good mom and I'm doing a good job, and that the only way that I can be a good mom is to take care of myself. And it's a really, really difficult thing, but I'm working on finding at least one thing every single day that I do for myself, whether that is working out, which I try to do most days, because it really, I'm finding how calm it helps me to be, how calm it helps my mind to be when I don't exercise. And exercise, I mean, even just 10 minutes. When I don't exercise, all of that energy that I have just turns into anxious thoughts. So for me, I really, really need to exercise to do a reset, to just calm my mind, to calm my body. So for me, that's been a really important element of getting through this postpartum period. Now my baby's almost 18 months, but I feel like this postpartum period has been going on forever. But I'm actually seeing like the light at the end of the tunnel, and really getting through this period and just enjoying my family, enjoying my life, enjoying my day-to-day, and just not being stressed all the time, and not being anxious all the time, and not being worried all the time, and just relaxing. That's such a weird concept to me, relaxing. I don't really know how to relax, but I am trying to learn, And that's all we can do, is learn how to do new things. And even if it seems silly, or even if you feel like you should already know how to do it, maybe you don't. I do not know how to relax, and I have to ask for help. Can you please show me how to relax? Can you please help me? Because I don't know how to do it on my own. And I am finding a lot of liberation in that, in asking for help and just saying, I don't know how to do it. Can you help me? And if there's anything you don't know, I'll help you. So that has been a really big change for me, and a change in mindset, that it's okay to ask for help. And even if it seems silly, or even if it seems like I think I should know it, if I don't, ask for help. And for me, I really need it coming from all directions. So I need my therapist to tell me, I need my husband to tell me, I need other family members to help me. I need it coming in at all angles, and then it can finally seep in, and then I can take it and run with it. So that's what I've been doing. That, in a condensed version, is my postpartum journey. And it's been the best time, because I'm so happy to be a mom. I'm so happy to have my kids. They are so amazing. But it's also been one of the most challenging times, personally, for me, for my brain. And I'm thankful to have this experience, because I'm thankful that I can learn all of this about myself now, and that I can teach this to my kids, and I can talk openly to them about it, and about going to therapy, and about getting help, and helping foster their self-esteem, so that they don't get to a point in their life like I did, where they didn't have any. And so for me, all these lessons, as hard as they've been, it's been really important that I learn them, and that I can pass them along to my kids, and really anyone else who wants to listen and wants to talk about it. So that is my postpartum journey, and I would love to hear about yours, or someone you know, or maybe misconceptions you have about it, or if you have any questions, or if you want to know more. I'd love to talk or chat, comment, anything. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye!